Hello and welcome to the Life by Design podcast, brought to you by Strategic. This podcast is all about helping you live your great life.
Welcome back to the Life by Design podcast, where we're reaching out to some really interesting people in our network here at Strategic Financial Services to just hear about their life, their career, and their great life. So today, I'm really pleased to introduce you to Matt Abdoo, who is the executive chef and owner of Pig Beach Barbecue, locations in Queens, Palm Beach, Citi Field, where the Mets play, and elsewhere. Just a little bit of background about Matt. He's a frequent guest chef on NBC's Today Show, and he's also appeared on the Food Network as a judge on America's Beat Bobby Flay, The Kitchen, Battle of Brothers, Kitchen Clash, and more. Matt got his start at the Culinary Institute of America. He trained in Italy. He cooked in the North End of Boston and was chef de cuisine at Del Posto in Manhattan. But before all that, Matt got his start right here in Utica, New York at Cafe Canola. Isn't that right, Matt?
That's right. My boys, Dean and Jason, they're the family that really just decided to take me in under their wing and start showing me all the ropes when I was merely 15 years old and really had no idea what I was doing professionally in a kitchen, but knew I just loved to cook. So they took a chance on me, and I'm exceptionally and forever grateful to both of them.
So let's go all the way back then, Matt, and tell me kind of where you fell in love with cooking. And I kind of know the answer already, but it's related to your family if I'd had to imagine.
100%. So I mean, we grew up, right? Like your backyard was literally up against my backyard. So childhood friends, half Italian, half Lebanese upbringing. I had one side of my family always tell me to manja, and the other side tell me to saktain. Both basically mean like eat and be happy. And I was just inundated with food at a very young age. I loved how food brought family together. We had regular dinners every single night as a family. I'm one of four boys, so I can only imagine now being a parent myself. The just my parents being able to sustain us with food in itself when we were younger, growing boys was just kind of bananas. But I just always loved food. My grandmothers on both of my sides always cooked for us. My mother always cooked for us. And for me, food was that one thing that just always put smiles on people's faces, and I loved doing it. So like my earliest food memory is probably when I was like 5 years old, making pancakes with my dad on a Sunday. And my dad does not cook. He likes to say he could burn water. And he's very proud to say that he's been able to pay for everything that I learned or know how to do today, which is, again, thanks, Dad. Love you. My first memory with him was probably making pancakes on a Sunday, and for whatever reason, my dad like flipped it. It was probably Bisquick, Aaron. It wasn't like homemade anything. He probably like mixed like some eggs and water and oil into a box of Bisquick. And he like flipped the pancake in the pan, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So that became our thing for a little bit. And 100 pancakes, and a few years later, with pancakes on the ceiling, the floor, the stove, and just making a mess and bomb in the kitchen, I finally probably landed one. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And thank God my parents always allowed me to make a mess in the kitchen and experiment, and they knew that I loved doing it. So it was just like my thing. Like even in junior high and high school, I'd be making cakes and bringing them to school. In English class, like a demonstration presentation was, this is how you make a cake, and it was like the stages and the swap and the magic of TV. And when we were coming up, it was just kind of the beginning of when the Food Network was happening. And that was just a really cool thing. And I always thought, man, how awesome would it be to be like Emeril Lagasse and just be like, bam, and get people really excited about cooking and sharing my love and passion for food. And
so you had the bug early on. You knew
when I was a kid. Oh yeah. And like, I think my parents even tried to slightly dissuade me from wanting to be a professional chef, because most people know that it's not always the most glamorous lifestyle, and it's a lot of long days, long hours.
Yeah.
But before I went to culinary school, my dad was like, I want to make sure you have a bachelor's degree in something, like just in case this cooking thing is a phase.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to SUNY Geneseo and got a business degree prior to going to the Culinary Institute of America.
I had
that. Yeah.
Not a bad thing to have.
Well, I mean, it's good. I had a little basic foundation of trying to understand small business and whatnot, so I guess that was beneficial. But if we can rewind even more, the reason I got my start at Cafe Canola, and again, Dean and Jason, if you're listening, love you guys. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for me and my family, and giving me a chance to bomb your kitchen professionally and burn a lot of things and still keep me employed. But I made a cake for my mom, who was working at the guidance office at Perry Junior High when my dad was teaching there. And there was like some staff or something get together. And Ralph Polito tried this chocolate torte cake that I made. And he's like, wow, Franny, this cake is delicious. Where'd you get it? She's like, Matthew made it. He's like, get out of town. Really, Matthew? It's like, yeah, I can't stop him from baking. All he does is bomb my kitchen and make a mess all the time. But his cakes and cheesecakes are pretty good. I got like a Hershey's cookbook for like a Christmas present or something. And I was like cooking every recipe in the book. And it was like cheesecakes and these chocolate torts and whatnot. So Ralph Polito was like, hey, Fran, I'm family friends with the Knowles over at Cafe Cannoli. I'm going to give him a call and see if Matthew wants a summer job. Again, I was 15. I wasn't even old enough to drive yet. And she's like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. So I get a phone call that night, and it's Ralph Polito. He's talking to my mom, and my mom's like, all right, hey, Dean and Jason said if you want to work, like, be there tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning. I was like, wow, this is so cool. I'm in. Let's do it. Yeah. And then I looked at my mom. I was like, so Mom, can you like drive me? And can we leave at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can be there early? And my first day getting in there, again, I didn't even know Dean and Jason at all. I was 15 years old. I lived in New Hartford, Cafe Canolas in Utica. I probably had pastries and cakes from there, but never, I mean, I'm a kid. You never really put two and two together. And I show up there the first day. It's still dark out at night. I walk in, say hello. Hi, guys. I'm Matt. I'm here. Ralph Polito sent me, kind of thing. And Dean was like, come on in, come over here. Or Jason, I even forget which one. It was probably Jason. And they put me on the dish pit. They're like, just hang on over here, help wash some dishes until we get all of our cake orders filled. And then we can get you situated and have you start working on something. So every day at Cafe Canola, what they would do when they first got there, turn the lights on, turn the ovens on, they'd cut, frost, and fill all the cakes. And then after that, they'd go into production of all the cookies and baked goods and stuff that they would make. So Dean and Jason were making all the custards and the fillings and like the whipped chocolate Godiva cream frostings, the Chambord frostings, the vanilla frostings. And they bring these big whips from these floor model KitchenAid mixers, like these massive, like 40-gallon, and they bring it over the dish pit, and it'd be like still like some cream was left on the whip, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'd be like looking around, making sure they weren't seeing me, and I'd like wash the dishes. And I just thought it was an absolute heaven. I was like, here I've been wash dishes, try all this stuff. Till eventually Dean was done with doing cakes, and he brought me over a pastry bag and a 5-gallon bucket of cannoli filling. He's like, hey, have you ever used a pastry bag before? And I was like, well, as a matter of fact, I have. I'm a 15-year-old know-it-all. He's like, okay, cool. I'll come over here. And he put me in the corner of the restaurant and gave me this 5-gallon bucket of cannoli cream, like 2 boxes of their homemade cannoli shells, and basically just said, fill all these cannolis until the cream is gone, and then we'll get you on the next project. And he showed me how to fill tip to tip. He's like, make sure you get all the way to center. You don't want to have a hollow cannoli. That's the worst thing ever. And I'm, again, like a kid in a candy store. I was piping the cannolis, like every 5th cannoli. I was like looking around, squeezing a little bit of my fingertip, eating it, being like, this is the greatest thing in the world. It was so cool. And at the end of the day, they're like, hey, you did a pretty good job. Come back again tomorrow. And
that's how it started, huh?
I worked for them from 1995. I was 15 up until I left for Boston in 2005 or 2006. So I worked for them for like about 10 years or so. And I loved it. It was the greatest thing ever.
That's awesome. And I know you've had a pretty amazing career since then. Obviously, we talked about, North End of Boston, Little Italy. So a good transition from Cafe Canole, Del Posto, more high end, like, one of the nicest Italian restaurants in the country in New York City.
The only New York Times 4-star Italian restaurant in the city at the time. Yeah.
In the city. Amazing. And you've had from there all these opportunities, TV appearances. I know you've been on the Today Show several dozen times now at this point.
Yeah.
A couple crazy highlights you can share with us, things that you've done. I know you mentioned early on you wanted to be Emerald one day, but you've cooked with Emerald. So like, what are kind of like the standout, what are the moments that you just look back and go, pinch yourself, from the kid who was making cannolis at 15 in Cafe Cannoli to, hey, I'm at the...
I think all of that, like meeting your heroes, man. It's like you grew up watching the Food Network, and then when I get a chance to like meet Emeril Lagasse in person, and I'm flying on a private plane with Mario Batali to go to his foundation and big gala charity event, it's like, holy cow, is this really happening? And then I'll never forget, I think I posted on Facebook when Emeril Lagasse followed me back on like Twitter or Facebook or whatever it was. I like screenshot. I was like, oh my God, Emeril Lagasse's following me on Facebook. It was like the craziest thing in the world. Getting to meet Mario Batali, working for him for 10 years was just like a life-changing experience and opened up so many doors and got me to have the opportunity to be the chef de cuisine at this ultra fine dining, super fancy restaurant, which again was really quite surreal. I never thought I would ever get into super fine dining. I would never really sought out to do that. But the executive chef at the time, Mark Ladner, he was a chef at Lupa, and as they were opening up Del Posto, he's like, "Man, I'm going to be at Del Posto. I'd rather you work for me there. I don't want you to work at Lupa." And I was like, "Well, Lupa rustic Roman fare was really kind of what I wanted to do, pastas and antipasti, salads and things." He's like, "No, come work at Del Posto." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I walked in, I was like, "Holy cow!" And I'm like, "This is next level. This whole place."
Yeah, if anyone's never seen Del Posto, go online, check it out. It's beautiful, beautiful restaurant in the lower Manhattan.
Yeah, and I just kind of worked my way up the ranks and eventually being chef de cuisine. And when I got to CDC, it just again opened up a lot of doors. I got to travel the world with Mario and Mark Ladner and cook and work with Emeril Lagasse and Bobby Flay and like you name it. A fancy, famous celebrity chef. Like I got a chance to work side by side with them and just crazy. Like I got to meet my heroes in the industry when I was,
Yeah.
doing all that. And
So
it's spectacular.
it's an unbelievable story. Again, all from kind of humble beginnings here, hometown guy,
Yeah,
and then the
man.
next thing
Yeah.
you're on
And
a
then like
private
getting a
jet going
chance to
hang out
do
with Emerald.
the Today Show for the first time. It was in 2014, and we wined and dined them, gave this like really spectacular feast. I was going out with every course. I was shaving truffles. I put together a special menu because my instructions were that Savannah loves Italian food, but it's more like spaghetti meatballs and chicken parm kind of Italian food. Back then is when Mark Ladner had made the 100-layer lasagna, sort of a famous thing. So
Yeah.
we did that, and I did my grandma's meatballs as a sidecar for it because it wasn't something we offered at the restaurant, but it was something special we did for Savannah. Savannah was like, "Oh my God, these are the best meatballs I've ever had in my life." She's like, "Would you ever consider coming on the Today Show and doing these?" I'm like, "Are you kidding? 1,000%. I'm in. Let's do it." So they finished out their dinner. I gave them a kitchen tour at the end. They had a great time. Wasn't really thinking anything more of it than that. A couple weeks go by, and then I get an email from Savannah Guthrie at NBC Universal, and like my heart like jumped out of my chest, and it was like Today Show Meatballs was the title, and it was like, "Hey Matt, sorry this took so long. I wasn't kidding. Would still really love to have you on the show. If you're interested, let me know." And I wrote her back, "Absolutely 100% yes." She's like, "So happy to hear that. I'm going to connect you with a producer." And that was that. Like it was my first time in 2014. She was probably like 7 months pregnant with her first child at that time. And then it became like the talk of the town back in New Hartford. And my mom and her friends, they made like a baby onesie that I gave to her at the end of the show that said, "Mama loves her meatball." And the Today team took a liking to me, and they've been having me back ever since. So I've been doing Today Show segments for like 11 years now, which is kind
It's
of
unbelievable. Every
crazy
time
to
you're
think
on, it's
about.
awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Your
Thank you.
buddies with Roker now. You guys are
Oh
all cooking
yeah,
buddies.
Uncle Al. That's my guy. That's my guy. No, everybody there has always been so incredibly kind to me. They make me feel like family every time I'm there. And they've also been super supportive too of the Jeff Michener Foundation, the foundation that we started for my brother-in-law when he passed away, my wife's twin brother. So every year prior to the big benefit that we hold in New York for that, they have me and my family on, and we get to do a food demo, and then we talk about the foundation. We talk about Jeff, and what's even cooler is that we have Jeff's daughter on, my son on, my nephew Samuel. So we get all the kids on there
Yeah.
doing that fun segment to promote the foundation, the benefits. So it's been very. I love you, Today Show family, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for everything you've done for me and my family. You guys are just incredible, and I'm always honored every time I get asked to be back on. So it's just
So
a
Matt,
really cool story.
let's touch on that since you went there. The foundation again you created for your brother-in-law in his honor, and I think you just recently finished up. I think like the seventh or fifth, sixth, seventh
It was
annual.
the fifth annual barbecue benefit. We missed two because of COVID.
Oh, missed two because of COVID. I know it started in
Yeah.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the foundation and the event because it's a pretty amazing event where you get some of the best
Yeah.
chefs from around the country to come.
Again, it's something that I still can't believe that we pull off every year. So Jeff Michener, my wife's twin brother, was one of our opening executive chefs at Pig Beach when we first started as a pop-up in Gowanus, Brooklyn. He suddenly passed away from like a brain aneurysm or hemorrhage, something that was a complete fluke. And when he passed away, obviously it was really hard for our family, and we wanted to do something special for that and a way to honor and remember him. So Jeff's parents started this foundation in his name. The foundation raises money for scholarships for graduating students that share Jeff's passions of golf and culinary arts. It can be either or both. And it also helps provide financial relief for families that have lost a loved ones, helping to cover funeral costs or therapy sessions or just networking, bringing people together to share whatever emotional experiences, because being together in a group kind of helps the healing process.
Yeah.
So when they started that foundation, we tagged along to doing this big barbecue benefit in New York City at Pig Beach Barbecue, where we invite 30 of the country's biggest and best pit masters from across the country, all to do a taste of one of their signature items. We pair it alongside with a bunch of spirits and beer sponsors like Tito's, Anheuser-Busch, huge supporters of everything that we've done. And we put on this awesome party, man. It's just an awesome party celebrating Jeff, showing the recipients of the scholarships, inviting them to come to the benefit if not. And it's just a big party to honor and remember Jeff. And it's just been something really spectacular. This
Some
past
unbelievable
year,
food, right? Like food from all over the
oh
country.
yeah, like if you're into barbecue, it's kind of crazy. This is legit like the who's who of barbecue, where you have literally the best guys in the business all at Pig Beach Barbecue for a night, serving up one of their taste of their
Signature
dishes.
dishes, yeah.
And it's crazy because the only other places where you get all these guys together in the same spot is like Memphis in May, the Jack or the
Competitions.
Royal, which are the biggest competitions in barbecue in the country. So
Yeah.
to have them all here for this sort of charity event is just surreal. They're all super busy. They're all, slugging their own brands or doing their own ambassadorships or having their own families, but they carve out time every year for this event. It's something that's really special. It's really exciting. It's really fun. And, if some form of tragedy has to happen and you're able to put something kind and good on the backside of it like this,
Yeah.
it's just a way of getting to remember who Jeff was and have his little girl Hayes kind of grow up, seeing her father in this sort of light and being remembered that way.
Very cool. And I know people come from all over the country because of who Jeff was and because of who you are. So it's a pretty good testament to his
Yeah.
legacy and to, your family. So
Yeah.
if you're in the New York City area in April, the annual benefit happens every year,
Yeah.
and you can
Every
go
year, last Saturday in
get-
April.
try
Put
some
it
of
on
the best
calendars
barbecue
now.
in the country.
That's it. Yeah. And even if you don't want to eat, you can drink. It's all you can eat and drink the whole day.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
Very cool, Matt. Matt, tell us a little bit. So give us the quick version of, we talked about you trained classic in Italian and rustic Italian. You went to Italy, you cooked at all these different Italian restaurants, and now you're doing barbecue. So how'd
Yeah.
that happen?
Yeah. Kind of a crazy transition going from ultra high end fine dining, white truffles, Barolos, Brunellos, crazy wine list to getting down to some pulled pork and brisket,
Yeah.
This all happened because of the founder of Pig Beach Barbecue, my business partner, one of my dear friends, Rob Schauger. He was an investor at Del Posto and a regular there, and we became friendly. And during a summer, Mark Ladner was working on a new menu of Abruzzo, the region of Abruzzo in Italy, and wanted to see if there's any correlations with American barbecue to Italian barbecue in the region of Abruzzo. There is zero correlation. Abruzzo barbecue is more like kebab culture, spiadini culture, than it is anything low and slow and big chunks of meat. And traditionally they do it with lamb. But anyways, our wine director at that time, Jeff Porter, was born and raised in Texas. He had a lot of connections. So he set up this awesome barbecue tour trip. It was me, Mark Ladner, Jeff Porter, and this guy at the time, Rob Schauger, who was just like a successful Wall Street guy, loved food, loved drink, loved having a good time and drinking copious amounts of white wine. So he tagged along on this trip. We went to like 5 different barbecue spots a day for 3 days. I had to stop after day 1 and buy like fiber pills because I thought I was going to like go into like a meat coma. And we became really good friends on that trip. And then he invited me out to his home in Long Island on the weekends. He's like, I was single at the time. I had weekends off because I got to kind of choose my schedule. And he's like, I barbecue every weekend at my house. Anytime you want to come over, spend the night, we got an extra room, come out, hang out. We'll drink some wine. We'll make some barbecue and have some fun. So we started doing that as just like a hobby. And that hobby kind of grew into a passion. And he was taking my sort of fine dining, classically trained chef mind and applying it to like make the perfect barbecue. So once we started getting kind of good at it, he started entering us into local competitions in Long Island and Staten Island and such. We started winning those local competitions. And then somehow he finagled to get us into Memphis in May, which is considered the world championship barbecue competition. And my first year there doing it, we got first place in poultry and second place in whole hog. And it was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
When a New York team was called to final, the whole park got silent because they're like, what are New Yorkers doing in Memphis in May and finaling? So we used that.
Who's this half Lebanese, half Italian kid coming up winning the whole hog
Abdoo?
competition in
Abdoo in Memphis? Yeah, I don't think they knew what to make of it. But anyways, we took that momentum and we opened up Pig Beach Barbecue as a pop-up from Memorial Day to Labor Day on the banks of the Gowanus Canal in Gowanus, Brooklyn, on a broken gravel parking lot, where Rob had the foresight to put a food pavilion on one side and a bar pavilion on the other side, made out of like reclaimed wood and a tin roof. And we did it rain or shine throughout the summer. Jeff was the chef there. I was still the chef de cuisine at Del Posto as we were kind of transitioning to see if this project had any merit. And after the first year of doing it, we had so much success and so much love from the community that they wanted us to come back year round. And I left El Posto. We renovated the decrepit building that was attached to our gravel parking lot, paved the parking lot, got a bunch of picnic tables outside there, like put in like a rinky-dink sound system. And Pig Beach was born that year of 2016. So since then, we've just been pushing hard, and we opened up in West Palm Beach, Florida. Gowanus, Brooklyn got rezoned during kind of like the COVID era. So we got forced out of that location, but we saw that coming. So we opened up another mega ship location in Astoria, New York. We're in Citi Field for the Mets. If you like baseball, come see us. And we just recently teamed up with a pickleball concept in Boston called PKL, where we're doing Pig Beach barbecue food at their PKL pickleball court place, which is just dynamite. Like pickleball and barbecue, it's so much fun, such a cool space.
I saw the pictures of that. It looks unreal. So there's a full indoor pickleball facility.
Yeah,
and
5 courts. There's five indoor pickleball courts. Yeah, there's like 2 shuffleboard courts. They have cornhole. It's 2 big bars. It's just a cool hang. Like our whole brand about Pig Beach is we pride ourselves in our barbecue. Like we like to say that we're chef-driven barbecue. When we created our barbecue, we wanted to give ode to the classical barbecue regions. And I will never sit there and say to anybody that we make better brisket than Texans, or we make better pulled pork or whole hogs than Carolinians, or anything like that. But what we do like to say is we like to do our best representation of those classic barbecue regions and put our sort of chef spinny twist onto it with whatever flavor profilings or seasonings or spices that we do. Because I will never ever try to compete against a Texan in anything that they do. There's a lot of pride, and they make some really good brisket. But one of the best compliments I can ever get is when I do have a Texan come in and, man, I'm from Texas, and this brisket is just as good as anything we got down there. I was like,
that's pretty good.
You Yankees are doing some pretty good stuff. So that kind of means the world to me. That means we're doing something right, and we're resonating with those nostalgic flavors of people's youth from the area where these regional dishes were born. And that's really just what we want to do. But more so than anything, we want to create a fun, hip environment. We love our sports. All of our locations have big TVs or jumbotrons for that matter. We had a huge following and showing for the Knicks. Let's go Knicks.
Yeah, your Queens location is crushing the Knicks playoff run, huh?
The Panthers, they just sneaked by Toronto in that last hockey game. So we're pushing for the Panthers down in Florida. I would like to say Boston, sorry Celtics, but let's go Knicks anyways, but it's been a dream, and I've gotten a chance to still cook for the masses within doing this barbecue project. And the reason that caused this transition outside of becoming friendly with Rob and winning these barbecue competitions and doing all these things is that for me, having the modest means and growing up what it was, and family was always like the center focus of everything, and food was always the center focus of the family. I always wanted the food that I created to be available to the masses. And I just kind of got to a point within Del Posto where it was price prohibitive for most. Like if you were to go there for dinner, you were in for a minimum of like $250 a head. And that's if you kept it light. But nonetheless, like I just kind of got to the point where I always felt guilty when my friends or family wanted to come in and eat there. And like, to your point, $500 for a 2-top, for me, that's a lot of money. I think for anybody, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's what some people make in a week. So to spend that on one single meal, within barbecue, you can come to Pig Beach for $20. You can get fully fed. You can have a beer. You can have 2 beers probably and be fully fed. And it was just a way of me still taking sort of that epicenter culture of food being the center for everything. And I always thought it was funny with the correlations of Italian cooking and family to barbecue, because when I was a kid, my Italian grandmother would come over. She'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. She'd start searing off her bracioles and her sausages. She'd start forming and baking off her meatballs to make her Sunday sauce or gravy or ragu, whatever you want to call it, to each their own. And she'd start that super early in the morning, and then we'd have dinner on the table by 4. We ate this big pasta feast with meatballs and bracioles and sausages. And for me, that was barbecue, right? Like you woke up super early, or you went to bed really late. You put a brisket or a pork shoulder on. You let it cook for 12 hours. Yeah. And then you had a big feast of your friends and family together at the end of it to celebrate this meal that you created. And that to me just kind of resonated a lot with my Italian heritage of my grandma doing the same thing, of those low and slow long cookings, and then bring everybody together afterwards for a big meal. and putting smiles on their faces. And for me, it was like my mother and my grandmother's, like their best way of representing their love for us was the nourishment that they would give us and the food they'd cook for us. So for me, if I'm able to do that and I can put a smile on your face, or I can make you have a memory that says, remember that time we're at Pig Beach and we had this, remember that time at Pig Beach and that couple got engaged, or we had my 30th birthday party or whatever, and I've been able to create this sort of memory that's been locked in time for you, then I've succeeded. And that's my goal, is just to put smiles on people's faces, nurture them with the food that we create these amazing memories for them, and hopefully a big smile on their face where they'll keep coming back and supporting us so I can continue to have the opportunity to do it again and again.
Having known you for a long time, it's unbelievable to see your passion from when I met you in high school through your work in college to all the restaurants you've been a part of. I think I've been to almost all of them, if not all of them.
You have. And, you're one of the best. Honestly, Bear, you've been to like every single location I've ever worked at, from Boston to New York to, I mean, it's amazing.
But
to Florida.
It's just so cool to see someone who's been able to follow that passion and turn it into their career, but also their life and their way of giving back to the community, their family, and so many other people. So it's pretty awesome that you've been able to do that. That's what this podcast is about, is just hearing your story about kind of life, your great life. So
thank you.
I want to wrap up a little bit. Thanks for sharing so much about your journey, your story, certainly your foundation for your brother-in-law.
That's right.
We're kicking off summer.
Let's
We're heading
go
outside, hopefully. I've got a barbecue champion sitting across from me here. What are the layperson like myself who've got maybe a grill, maybe a Blackstone at home?
Yeah.
What are we looking to do this summer? What are some cool new trends or some tips you've got for us?
Well, the best tip I can give anybody listening to this podcast, whether you're grilling hamburgers and hot dogs or steaks or chicken, go on Amazon or go to your local hardware store and buy yourself an inexpensive digital instant read thermometer. That's going to be your best tool to know when anything is done, whether it's a piece of chicken and you want it to be 165, if you want it to be a medium rare steak and you're temping it to 128 to 130, or if you want it to be a brisket and know that it's got the stall and it's time to wrap at 160 and you want to pull it off at 200 degrees. The only way that you can truly tell when those things are perfectly cooked is with a digital instant read thermometer. Another great way.
Everybody should get one of those. Like, even a little backyard warrior like me, I should have one of those.
Doesn't matter. From the beginner cook to the professional, I still use mine every single day. It's a tool. It's a necessary tool in the same way your computer is for entering in all your information and data that you need within Strategic and whatnot. But instant read thermometer is super important. You can go out there and get the Pig Beach Barbecue Cookbook, written by myself and Shay McBride. It's got a lot of great recipes, a lot of great tips and tricks in there, and all the heart and soul Pig Beach barbecue basics that we do at the restaurants, which is really exciting and cool. And if you're a Blackstone guy, like a griddle guy, have fun with it. The biggest thing I can say about barbecuing and grilling, so we're from upstate New York, right, bud? And for us, if we said we're going to have a barbecue, it meant like hamburgers and hot dogs, or maybe some chicken skewers kind of thing, right? Or beef kebabs. But barbecue is fundamentally low and slow cooking with the application of fire and smoke. But you don't always have to fire up a smoker to have a great barbecue on the weekends. If you're cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, get outside, fire up the grill. If you're cooking on a grill and you have the access to charcoal, I think charcoal always gives a lot better flavor than gas does. Gas is obviously very convenient. But if you have the time, invest in if you're cooking with charcoal, another great tip, lots of times people don't know the best way to light it. Invest in a charcoal chimney. They cost about $25. You can get little kindling tumbleweeds from Royal Oak. They're like these little balls of kindling that they light, and it's the best way to get the charcoal lit. You can have charcoal lit in about 10 minutes, ready to cook on. So definitely invest in a chimney starter if you're working on charcoal. Yep. Best way to get that fire going. And the last thing else,
how about like, if I want to get out of the world of burgers and dogs, what's the next best place for me to go to really do something cool and unique that everybody can kind of do?
Absolutely. Well, what I like to teach people on is pork shoulder, because it's an inexpensive cut of meat and you can be fully invested in a pork shoulder, $20 to $30. It's going to take yourself 10 to 12 hours to cook it. So if you're looking to barbecue it low and slow and master that craft of the stall and the wrap and all that other kind of stuff, pork shoulder is a great thing to start out because it's not a huge monetary commitment. And then from there, I would gravitate to baby back ribs because they're like a 4-hour cook. So you can cook those within like a time frame of not having to sleep or stay up all night. And then once you feel like you're ready to take on the challenge, brisket is the one that's probably the hardest and the longest because it takes 14 hours or more to cook, and it's much less forgiving than everything else, and it costs more. So that would be sort of my progression: pork shoulder into ribs into brisket, and then on top of all that, just don't be afraid to fail. That's how everyone gets the barbecue bug, is you start doing this thing and then you want it to be better, but you have to wait until the weekend to do it again. And then you have to wait another 12 hours for this thing to be ready.
Yeah.
And if you are going to do this in time commitment, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but the last thing, if you're cooking a brisket or you're cooking a pork shoulder, you're cooking ribs, and you're going to invest anywhere from 12 to 14 hours of your day cooking something, very often as eaters, we get very excited and we cannot wait to cut into that thing and start tasting it and eating it. You gotta wait. You gotta let it rest for like an hour. The brisket and pork shoulder, you gotta let it rest for an hour. Let that temperature come down to 155 degrees before you cut into it, because if you cut into it before that, it's just all the juices are gonna bleed out of the thing. It's gonna end up being dry, and all that time you invested into making it is just gonna be completely thrown away by getting too excited to want to eat it too soon. So let it rest.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do. I've been back at the smokers
is.
behind Pig Beach, and I've seen all the unbelievable big cuts of meat, and I can say, it smells pretty darn good. It's hard to probably wait a little bit before you touch it.
Yeah, that's the other great thing on the weekends too. Your neighbors are like, "What are you cooking over there? It smells something fun happening." Either that or they're calling the fire department because they think your house is burning down. But to each their own.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you giving us some tips for again, those of us who are just doing it at home on the weekends from a professional. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing, your great life. And if you want to find Matt, check him out online. You can find him all over the place. YouTube, Today's Show. Be on the lookout for Chef Matt Abdoo from good old Utica, New York. Humble beginnings, now professional chef. And look for more coming from Pig Beach in the future.
Awesome. Aaron, thank you so much for having my pal. This was such a pleasure and a treat to get to chat with you.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for taking some time.
You bet. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, brother.
Bye.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Please see the full disclosure in our show notes for more information.